The war with Iran erupts again. A big MAGA win still stuns Washington, and industrial disaster in the Pacific Northwest. Greetings, humanity. Let's GROK the news, starting with the most important story in the world today. Dateline, Washington, D.C. U.S. forces carried out fresh defensive strikes in Iran overnight, targeting military sites near the Strait of Hormuz and downing Iranian attack drones that threatened American personnel and commercial shipping. Iran responded with missile fire aimed at U.S. assets, further testing the fragile ceasefire even as diplomatic talks continue. President Trump described the actions as necessary self-defense, insisting that no nation will control the critical waterway and rejecting any immediate sanctions relief. The strikes hit a ground control station in Bandar Abbas and vessels attempting to lay mines, according to U.S. Central Command. Officials say the moves were measured to protect troops and maintain open navigation in the Gulf, a vital artery for global oil flows. Iran's IRGC claimed it targeted a U.S. base in retaliation, though damage assessments remain limited. Tensions flared despite ongoing negotiations, with Trump stating that Iran is negotiating on fumes, while demanding stronger guarantees on its nuclear program and enriched uranium stockpile. This latest exchange comes amid broader regional strain, including Israeli operations in southern Lebanon following evacuation orders. Markets reacted swiftly, with oil prices jumping on fears of disrupted supply routes. Analysts warn that prolonged uncertainty could delay full replenishment of U.S. advanced weapon stockpiles used in the conflict. A new assessment says this may take years. Trump has pushed for expanded Abraham Accords participation as part of any final deal. At home, the administration faces questions about long-term strategy as midterm election positioning heats up. Trump has downplayed the electoral impact on his foreign policy, emphasizing strength and deterrence. National security officials stress that the strikes prevent escalation rather than inviting it, while critics, the usual critics, warn of the fragile ceasefire unraveling. Diplomatic channels remain active, with focus on verifiable limits to Iran's nuclear ambitions and regional proxy activities. The situation underscores America's commitment to protecting vital interests, securing energy routes, and countering threats without unnecessary entanglement. As talks proceed, the White House maintains a firm line: peace through strength, open straits, and no nukes in Iran. Developments continue to unfold rapidly. I'm Robert Gardner, using GROK each weekday to truthfully summarize the news, and I serve it up with my opinions at no extra cost. We review a roundup of the most critical reports in the world right after this. M.S. Gardner, my beautiful, brilliant wife, is author of the Moon Meridian Prize winner from April Gloaming Publishing, Wolf's Bane. Now, this is a dark, serious, modern take on Little Red Riding Hood. You've never heard it told in a Southern Gothic fashion. Wolf's Bane, available now at thecuriousauthor.com, all one word, thecuriousauthor.com, or, of course, from Amazon. Now, we GROK the news headlines from around the world. Dateline, Austin, Texas. It's official. Trump-backed Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton delivered a decisive almost 2-1 victory over incumbent Senator John Cornyn in the Republican Senate primary runoff. The strong showing solidifies conservative momentum and sets up a competitive November matchup against Democrat James Tallarico. Trump immediately congratulated Paxton on the win. Washington, D.C.'s Republican in name only establishment is furious and frightened. Trump and the MAGA movement aren't just fighting woke Democrats, folks. There's an entire corrupt deep state gang working in a bipartisan fashion against the American people. Dateline Longview, Washington. A massive chemical tank rupture at a Washington state paper mill has left at least 2 workers dead, 9 others still missing, presumed dead after the explosion. The incident released hazardous materials, forcing emergency search and rescue operations at the paper mill. This observer has worked at such a facility in his own youth and remembers being drilled in safety training that there was no such thing as an accident, only neglect and stupidity. One rightly wonders how this could have happened. Dateline Beirut. Israeli troops carried out heavy strikes on targets across southern Lebanon after the military issued large-scale evacuation orders for several villages near the border. Forces expanded operations into newly designated combat zones against the terrorist Hezbollah infrastructure, still supported by crumbling Iran. Dateline Geneva, Switzerland. The United Nations has issued a strong warning. Here it comes. Global temperatures will very likely smash records during the next 5 years as climate trends accelerate. Some scientists, predict more frequent and intense heat waves affecting economies and populations worldwide. This observer notes that only a few days ago the UN admitted that all of its past climate predictions were wrong. Observers should remain skeptical about climate alarmist claims, and that's this observer's opinion. How many times have they falsely cried wolf? I guess if you cry wolf or warming often enough, one day you'll have a hot day or a wolf. Dateline Nairobi. At least 16 schoolgirls died when fire broke out inside a dormitory at a boarding school in central Kenya. Emergency teams are still working at the scene. Authorities investigate possible causes and safety violations. A recurring theme in the news this week seems to be man-made catastrophes caused by neglect and or corruption. Dateline Kinshasa. Ebola continues spreading through conflict-affected areas of Central Africa, leading to new travel restrictions and urgent health warnings in the Democratic Republic of Congo and elsewhere. The United States is setting up a special quarantine facility in Kenya for any exposed American citizens. This observer feels that the deadly contagion is being used as an opportunity by warlords there to do their fighting for them. Dateline Washington, D.C. Former Attorney General Pam Bondi has publicly confirmed her thyroid cancer diagnosis and successful recent surgery. She has accepted an appointment to serve on a new White House advisory committee focused on artificial intelligence policy. This observer appreciates the work she did as Attorney General, but hopes that she can do better in this position. Dateline London. Oil prices rose sharply once again on international markets after the latest round of United States defensive strikes against Iranian targets near the Strait of Hormuz. Prices for U.S. crude oil rose a little more even, at 4%. Energy traders are closely monitoring diplomatic talks for any signs of de-escalation. This observer notes that record profits are being made by oil profiteers and market speculators, buying and selling on every pulse beat of news from Iran. Dateline Canberra. The Australian government filed a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against American company 3M, accusing the firm of widespread contamination from forever chemicals in firefighting foam. The case seeks compensation for damaged communities and environments. Dateline New York, and elsewhere. Top prosecutors in the Empire State and New Jersey, the Garden State, have subpoenaed FIFA as part of an investigation into allegedly inflated ticket prices and unfair sales practices for the upcoming World Cup. The probe focuses on transparency for the fans. Dateline Los Angeles. The former personal assistant to actor Matthew Perry was sentenced to prison for his role in supplying the ketamine that contributed to the beloved star's tragic death. The case drew attention to the dangers of celebrity drug access. Well, it's not just celebrities, folks. Anyone with enough money and folly can pick their poison. Dateline Washington, D.C. Federal authorities arrested a former CIA officer after discovering approximately $40 million in gold bars hidden inside his residence. Investigators believe the valuable cache is connected to an ongoing fraud investigation. Are there any good guys in the CIA anymore? This observer wonders if have there ever been. Dateline New Delhi. Serious scandals involving alleged hacking and mismatched answer sheets have rocked major school examination systems across several states in India. Angry students and parents are demanding complete transparency and accountability from officials. Dateline London. British intelligence services claim that nearly 500,000 Russian soldiers have died in the continuing war in Ukraine. The extraordinarily high casualty figure highlights the brutal and prolonged nature of the conflict. This observer wonders if Europe's corrupt leaders, crowing over these deaths, are happy with the needless and preventable bloodshed they provoked and continue to nurture. Dateline Sydney. Australian federal police have charged a woman who recently returned from Syria with membership in the Islamic State terrorist organization. Officials say the prosecution demonstrates ongoing commitment to countering extremism among Aussie citizens. An observer might be forgiven for wondering why the terrorist was allowed to return at all. What are they thinking down under? Dateline Texas. Texas Democrat Beto O'Rourke described far-left congressional candidate James Tallarico as someone who could become the crucial 51st Democrat vote in the U.S. Senate after recent primary election results. Tallarico will be facing MAGA hero Attorney General Ken Paxton in the general election. And Dateline Washington, D.C., Democrat Senator Chris Murphy suggested that President Trump is constructing the ballroom at the White House because he does not believe he will leave office when his current term ends. This observer wonders how any thinking adult could possibly believe such a thing, and then remembers that Murphy is a Democrat, talking to Democrats. I thank you for listening. Please join me tomorrow to once again grok the news. I'm Robert Gardner. Godspeed and God bless.